future doesn't have to be like that. If you step on in to the secret kindergarten, showing you that your young children hold the key to understanding the universe, understanding the self, and therefore they hold the key to human freedom. Your child is the gatekeeper. Only you can open the gate, and the secret kindergarten is going to show you how.
Hello, welcome back to the secret kindergarten. This is the grown-ups edition. So, yeah, it's not necessarily, this one's not necessarily adults only. We're talking about the TV today. I'm doing a series on the television. All about the television and the effect on the brains of the young minds of the world. Okay, so it's going to be an ongoing series. And today, we just get straight into talking about, well, we're going to compare an institutional view with a Steiner view, Rudolf Steiner view. Well, not directly Steiner, but we're going to look at a book published by the Rudolf Steiner Association. We're going to compare those. We are going to look at some of the effects through that comparison. We're going to look at whole brain development. As an argument for why the TV is bad. We're going to look at, I think that's about it. Let's have a look. We're going to look at learning with the five senses as, again, an example of why TV is bad. We're going to look at things that don't have TV. So we're going to look at what doesn't involve TV and what's good about those things as a way of showing that TV isn't so great, unfortunately. What else am I going to say about this? We will eventually look at symbolism in things like Disney film and stuff like that. But I want to say now, if you are listening and you would be looking forward to that, yeah, it's a bit of a, I don't know, what's the word? Red herring? There's not too much in it, unfortunately, at least from my view. But if you are interested in that, then I would recommend sticking around for this series. What else was I going to say? With the time getting away from me already. The other thing I was going to say is that the children's content will still be published on podcast platforms and on my website. But my content for grown-ups is just getting away from me, and I've just got a mountain high pile of material that I want to do, so I'm putting that on hold for Revolution Radio. If you have some feedback on that, do let me know. Gino at thesecretkindergarten.com. And I'm talking about the feedback of my programming on the show. Do you want to see that come back sooner rather than later? If you don't care, then yeah, definitely don't. Just don't bother me, please. I'm busy. All right. Is TV bad? Is TV good? Is TV just a tool that is dependent on the content going on inside the TV, the programming? Is TV a term we can use to include computers, iPads, iPhones, and other such technology? Well, unfortunately, the bad news in this series, and in my opinion, is that the TV really is bad, regardless of what is showing on the screen. It is especially bad for our young developing minds of the world. Subliminal programming for young children and film and programming is just another way of entertaining grown-ups, while the young children remain entrained to the TV. It doesn't matter what is going on the screen. And you know what? I think I've already said this story before, but I know Well, he's not 1.5 anymore. I know a toddler that would only sleep to Terminator 1. So he would fall asleep sucking his thumb to Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, executing every Sarah Connor in the phone book. Like he was watching or listening to some sweet lullaby. Why is that? How? What do we do about it? Anyway, what we do about it really is up to you, but I'm just repping the TV in a way that unfortunately is not cool or fun to listen to or learn about, but it's just the truth. We're going to cover the topic of TV for young children in this Secret Kindergarten series called The Television Tells No Vision. Alright? Because I also blame the TV for my stupidity. Well, some of it anyway. I also don't blame you parents out there that use the TV, and we all use the TV. But we'll talk about solutions at the end of the series. Or the solutions, ideally, will just come to light throughout the series. Okay, we're going to compare an institutional view and a Steiner view. So, from the book, Using Media to Make Kids Feel Good by Maureen Gaffney. Now, I didn't write the year, and it is important because, first off, there's not much literature on the effects of TV. I know we've moved away really from television, but for all intents and purposes, for this series, we are going to say that TV also means iPad, technology, computers, gaming, that sort of thing. Okay? So this book is from the 80s. It's from 85, and it's a hospital medical type book. So, Using Media to Make Kids Feel Good by Maureen Gaffney, and it's about, a study of TVs, whether they should be used in hospitals from the 80s. So in the 80s, it was like peak TV, right? We didn't have all the social media and stuff. TV in Pediatric Wards, Is It Worrisome or Worthwhile by Elizabeth Crocker. Television surrounds us for more than 3 decades. North Americans have been drawn towards entertainment, news, and sports in the comfort of our own homes. Some of us may remember a time when there was no television, but our children have only known a world where television exists. For a number of years, researchers have been trying to determine the effects of television on children and to quantify the amounts of television being watched by children of different ages. As with any field of research, studies with a range of findings have emerged. In spite of these differences, however, certain generalizations can be made. Excessive television viewing can displace other activities and disrupt a young child's development of verbal skills or hurt the academic achievement of school-aged children. Connections exist between violence on television and violence in society. And violence on television can stimulate children to be more aggressive and violent. Exposure to pro-social television leads children to be more helpful, sharing, cooperative, and empathetic. Further, children who watch these programs are inclined to be more productive in their fantasy, more imaginative in their play, and more creative in general. These children are also less likely to hold ethnocentric or gender stereotyped beliefs, sex stereotype beliefs. Young children cannot always differentiate between what they see on TV and what is real. Children's television viewing peaks in early adolescence and then sharply declines. Actual viewing hours per week range from 20 to 50 hours depending on the study, where it was done, and the socio-economic levels and ages of the groups sampled. It is estimated that 1/4 of school-aged children spend more than 25% of normal waking hours watching television. And with social media and iPads and stuff now, I say that number is bigger. That is very conservative for 2024. That's what I believe. The percentage of airtime devoted to children's programming on most networks is extremely small. For example, PBS allots 27%, while most other networks fall somewhere between 4 and 8%. Most of what is categorized as children's programming is for preschoolers. Material for school-aged children is almost non-existent. Because of vast developmental differences between preschoolers, I'm just going to make a note here actually, because that is an important number, even though it's from the 80s. 4%, and most of what is categorized as for preschoolers. Material for school-aged children is almost non-existent. That is kind of a big deal. I think that I believe that's actually the same for 2024 as well, I believe. What do you reckon? Preschooler shows, can you think of any? A few come to mind, right? What about for school-aged children? Okay, and there's going to be a reason for that. And that's where you're going to get into the occult material. Ooh. Because of vast developmental differences between preschoolers, early school-aged children, and pre-adolescents, there is no such thing as a mass child audience, correct? Okay, now, I hope this doesn't backfire on me. It read differently when I read it the other day. Okay, now we're going to look at The Children of Cyclops, The Influence of Television Viewing on the Developing Human Brain by Keith Barzell, and this is a North American Steiner Association book. And this is actually related to, this is concerning cancer and heart trouble caused by excess cortisol, which in this book goes into the study of TV causing excess cortisol and the effects of such excess cortisol. As the rapidity and number of startle effects increases, and they're talking about startle effects caused from watching the screen and changes on the screen and the programming, the parasympathetic nervous system has no time to bring balance back to the system, shut off the cortisol, re-establish the immune system, and so on. Thus, the body, as its own intelligence, lives in a constant state of threat or startle, and the brain suffers a serious oversaturation of cortisol. Cortisol, so vital to survival in the tiny emergency doses nature provides, is quite toxic in any quantity, and the symptom of cortisol overload is stress, proposed by the University of London's Medical School as the major cause of contemporary disease, particularly cancer and heart trouble. As serious as the corresponding diseases is the overproduction of neural connections from constant startle. At each startle effect and shot of cortisol, the neurons of the brain throw out new dendritic connecting links with other neurons, a redundancy that offers a wide scope of possibilities for fast, novel adaptation to emergency, a very ancient survival reaction of our brains that takes place before we are even aware of the event. When an emergency is over, environmental dangers are quite generally quite brief in mammalian life. This redundant neural mass is reduced back to normal size by the parasympathetic process, retaining only those new connections of neural fields involved in the quote-unquote survival learning, if any arising from that particular emergency. If emergencies or startles follow each other in a rapid fashion, however, as with the rapid shifts of major magnitude on current TV, The old brain has no choice but to keep the body's own system under constant hyper alert. The redundant mass becomes more. Work will be ignored to our peril, and every cognizant, conscious parent or general reader should read and heed. Indeed, be nothing less than filled with righteous indignation and wrath. Demand the follow-through research Buzzell calls for, and above all, find the moral courage to throw their own diabolical TV device out the window. Now, today is the day, and this is the hour. And I just want to thank my mum for throwing out the TV. Boy, did I hate her for that. Oh my God, at the time. What a little shit, eh? And then I regret, all the TV I did watch when I was a kid. I regret it. Anyway, all emo stuff aside, let's now just to reflect on that, right? So in the book, The Children of Cyclops, it's saying that, that watching the TV literally causes health problems that land you in the hospital. And the hospital is taking a hospital kind of view, right? They're kind of saying pros and cons, but they're focusing on the pros, the social aspect. And reading that book a bit further, which I didn't say, is, they admit that it provides a sense of comfort to the children in the hospital, which, that makes sense, right? But I just wanted to put those side by side to show the irony, because what we know, if you are listening, Revolution Radio listeners, well, you know about, medical industrial complex, hospitals, medicine, Western medicine, how that works. It's a system and a cycle that keeps everybody sick and everybody in and out of hospitals and stuff like that. Well, I just wanted to put that there to show that TV is another one of these things. Okay, they're in the hospitals, but I just wanted to point out that they're also one of the things that makes us sick. And when you look for literature on it, on the TV, well, you don't find very much. But I did find this extensive book written for institutions, medical institutions, for hospitals, on TV, so they can be informed and take charge of how the TV is used to make it look good, to make TV look really, really good. And to provide a sense of balance, so you can decide what you want to do. Okay, moving to Great Myths of Child Development by Stephen Hopp and Jeremy Jewell. And again, I got to say, man, you look at the literature on this, it sucks. It sucks looking at all this literature, because there's so many agendas. There's so much tiptoeing on things. It's just an absolute minefield to try and get things. So what I'm trying to say is, this Great Myths of Child Development, I don't recommend this book. It's got all these myths, and most of the myths, from my understanding, are lies. But this one, I'm surprised, is true. So this is just, at the end of the day, this is the thing. You go and get the facts, and I have to sit here and say, hey, this is my opinion that this fact is a fact. Bottom line is, only you're going to know whether or not what I'm saying is true through your own experience and discovery. And that's how I found out everything. It's all anecdotal, and this is all just now trying to study, catch up, back it up with books and stuff like that. So anyway, myth number 16 in the book Great Myths of Child Development: showing cognitively stimulating videos to babies boosts their intelligence. This is you're going to see this as a running thread. Essentially apologizing for technology. Oh no, actually, there's some parts about the TV that are good, such as showing stimulating videos to babies boosts their intelligence. In the book 50 Great Myths of Popular Psychology, Lilienfeld et al., I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry, I'm terrible, describe a long-lasting trend in parenting. Specifically, the 1980s were filled with parents trying to create super babies by exposing their newborns to significant amounts of advanced mathematics and other languages. Then, the 1990s were bursting with parents and teachers playing Mozart's music to their children, infants, and even fetuses, with the hope of making their children smarter. Lilienfeld et al. Thoroughly debunked the myth that playing Mozart's music to infants boosts their intelligence. Lilienfeld and colleagues also described the 21st century version of this parenting trend, namely the 2000s have been jam-packed with parents buying cognitively stimulating videos such as Baby Einstein, with the hope that they will help their children turn into geniuses. Instead of focusing on the quote-unquote Mozart effect myth that Lilienfeld et al. Okay, I'm just going to say Lilienfeld. I hate this et al. I'm sorry. Already skewered. We've decided to focus here on the latest version of this parenting trend. That is, we'll focus on what we're going to call the quote-unquote Einstein movement, named after the proliferation of Baby Einstein products. In the recent documentary Race to Nowhere, the filmmakers argue that excessive pressure can cause students to be pushed to the brink by overscheduling, over-testing, and the relentless pressure to achieve. As one teen student in the film puts it, school is just so much pressure that every day I wake up dreading it. But many believe that this pressure to achieve does not start in middle school or high school. Rather, these pressures are in place at a much younger age. All you people in the truth movement out there. In the report, Crisis in Kindergarten, Why Children Need to Play in School by the non-profit organization Alliance for Childhood, the authors lament recent changes in typical kindergarten classrooms when they state that skepticism about the value of play is compounded by the widespread assumption promoted by hundreds of smart baby products that the earlier children begin to master the basic elements of reading, such as phonics and letter recognition, the more likely they're to succeed in school. There we go. So play is good, as always. And it's in this environment of pressure to help kids succeed that parents often seek products that will help their children get a jump start on the competition, even if the competition is just a few months old. To help parents to do this, there are a growing number of television shows, DVDs, video programs that infer that they can make infants and toddlers smarter, and surely many parents, somewhere in the back of their mind, hope that these products will help their future teenage child do just a little better on the SAT or ACT, allowing them to get into the prestigious college of their choice. This wave of television and videos geared directly for infants and toddlers burst onto the public market toward the end of the 1990s. For example, Baby Einstein products and television programs such as Teletubbies began to reach an international audience of parents and young children at this time. According to the product's website, the Baby Einstein Company was acquired by the Walt Disney Company in 2001 and was referred to by Oprah no, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'll be saying that every second word here, as one of the hottest baby shower gifts in 2002, which has ultimately contributed to Baby Einstein becoming a world leader in developmental and entertainment products for babies and toddlers. Whew! I am just going to scroll down. I copy and paste way too much stuff, but it's important. See, this is like so you can listen to it, so you don't have to read it. I'm doing you a favor, okay? Many other video-based educational products for infants and toddlers also exploded in the 2000s. In 2005, over 3/4 of all top-selling videos on the Amazon marketplace for children under 2 years old claimed to be educational. This is the whole... This is the TV as an excuse for education paradigm that we live in. It's better to just say, I can't be stuffed, I'm putting the TV on for an hour. Or I'm just know it for what it is. That's the whole point of this series. Although it's about truth, right? Although some manufacturers of these products actually claim that their videos do not increase the IQ of infants watching them, the titles and descriptions of these products might give a different impression to parents. Titles such as Left Brain inspires logical thinking in the Brainy Baby series of DVDs certainly seems to imply that the product is focused on improving cognitive development. And the manufacturer describes the product as the first video series that can help stimulate cognitive development. Programs such as these are big business as well. In 2004, DVDs designed to help with infant and toddler development reached an estimated $100 million for that year alone. In reaction to this increased media use in very young children, the American Academy of Pediatrics Council on Communications and Media published a report that discouraged exposure to television and similar media in children under 2 years old. Nevertheless, the prevalence of TV and DVD viewing in very young children has remained very high. In one of the largest surveys of media use and young children, Vanderwater and colleagues found that 63% of children ages 0 to 2 years watched TV daily. And 30% watched a video on a typical day for over an hour. I'm behind, so I'm just going to try and paraphrase this. It's just all facty facts. 63% of children ages 0 to 2 watch television daily. 30% watched for over an hour. And this is in contrast to the 66 minutes on average that they played outside, or 39 minutes that they were read to by an adult. So the whole point of my show in general is to create more programming and play and time and attention stuff to increase that number. The 39 minutes that they were read by an adult, well, I'm just trying to provide opportunity to increase that number and decrease the other numbers. So increase the playing outside, increase the reading to adults, and decrease the watching TV time. That's literally all I'm trying to do. 18% of infants and toddlers had a television in their bedroom. 47% of parents say they put it in the bedroom to free up a television for adult viewing. So that's half the reason why there's TVs in bedrooms. That's pretty bad, guys. That is so bad. Let's just say this again. Parents gave various reasons for putting a TV in their young child's bedroom, including freeing up a television for adult viewing. 47%. It's almost half. When that gets to 51%, it's game over, dude. Game over for humanity, bro. To keep the child occupied while the parent performs other activities, that's 42%. Fair enough, okay? I get it. I'm not a parent, so I'm a hypocrite. Sure, but I'm just presenting the truth. Or to help the child fall asleep, like my toddler buddy who sleeps to Terminator 1, his favorite movie of all time. 2 years old. Terminator, I want to terminate you, Daddy. 28%. Okay, I'm having too much fun here and I'm dragging this out. Yep, so children as young as 3 months old, which is in New Zealand at least the age that babies are taken to daycares. Usually 3 months is now, they say 12 weeks, man. Children as young as 3 months old exposed to 1 hour of television per day on average. But half of this is reported as quote-unquote educational programming. And 15 minutes of that being videos designed for babies. 68% of mums report they own baby videos. 55% of parents believe there is educational benefit in said videos. 29% parents cited educational benefits or benefits for their child's brain. So yeah, so I know that, people care, right? So this is just, I'm not telling anyone how to parent, how to care, anything like that. I'm just, I care. Too bad if you don't like that. I care, and I'm just putting this information out, right? So you can listen to this if you want or not. Similar to the Ryan study, results from the Zimmerman and colleagues study found that the belief in the educational value of baby videos was endorsed more strongly than the simple use of these videos as a way to occupy their children while parents are busy. Okay, so it's just being honest about the TV, understanding what the TV is and what it does, and then just being honest about why you need the TV or why you're using the TV, and just being conscious. Okay, blah, 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 blah. I'm just trying to catch up now. So the heart of the argument in the research is something called video deficit, and the deficit refers to the fact that infants and toddlers do not readily imitate actions viewed on video media. Take that, hospital study. Although they will easily imitate the same actions viewed live. Oh! Same actions viewed live. That's why you got to create a bond with infants and toddlers. Okay, infants, well, that kind of goes without saying usually, right? Especially if you're here listening, right? Okay. But with toddlers, forming that strong bond. And they're going to be imitating you. Okay, this video deficit has been found in numerous research studies on spatial learning, word recognition, and language development. Okay, and similarly, Barr and Hain discovered in a series of studies with 12 to 18-month-old children that live interaction was more effective than video interaction for children's learning. Pretty scary. A more recent study by Barr and colleagues found that 12 to 18-month-olds were more responsive and imitative of infant videos if parents watched the videos with them and used questions or labeling during the videos. See, it's just about it's more about spending time, using your time and attention to bond with the kids. That's it. Another purported benefit of baby learning videos is that they improve language development and word learning. Well, listen to me, all the TV I watched, I can barely speak properly. However, again, the research on this topic has generally contradicted this assertion. For example, Rob and colleagues studied the potential effects of the Baby Wordsworth First Words Around the House DVD, which is part of the Baby Einstein series on word learning in children between 12 and 15 months old. These researchers randomly assigned children into one of two groups. The DVD group was instructed to watch the video 15 times in a 6-week period, while the control group was not given the video and told to follow their typical routines. At the end of the study, the results indicated that multiple exposures to the DVD didn't produce any increases in word learning. However, the researchers also measured the amount of time that the children were read to by a parent, and this was strongly associated with word learning. See, man, I'm good. I'm giving anyone that spends time with kids literally all the goods. Secret Kindergarten, all the podcasts for kids, yeah? And I'm giving you all the stories of gold that you can read, okay? So all you truther mummies and daddies, I'm hooking you up with the good stuff. Like it or lump it. A similar study also investigated the potential effects of a similar DVD program on word learning in 12 to 18-month-old children. This study grouped children slightly differently, with one group of children watching the DVD at least 10 hours over 4 weeks, without parent interaction. A second group watching with parent interaction at least 10 hours over 4 weeks. A third group being taught a list of words through parent interaction only, with no time requirements. Very interesting, no time requirements. And a control group, no specified teaching or DVD instructions. Children in the parent interaction only group learned significantly more words. I want to know how much time was spent there. I would say possibly not much. I don't know. So I don't know if this is even worth saying. So while both of the DVD watching groups learned no more words than the control group. Thus, once again, baby learning videos failed to be beneficial. Okay. Just more studies unrelated to language development. Unrelated to language development. Report on media use. Again, American Academy of Pediatrics. Children under 2 years old. The authors reaffirm. Well, it's another update. They've re-reviewed it. And they reaffirm that media use should be discouraged in children under 2 years old. Okay, so that's where you want to be throwing your TV out the window, especially. Okay, under 2 years old. There, you know it. You can't unknow it now. You've heard it. That's it. Okay, don't shoot the messenger. Okay, finally, the American Academy of Pediatrics acknowledges that there is some evidence that high-quality educational programs after the age of 2 years may have some educational benefits. Okay? However, nothing really beats interactions with other humans in real life. So if you do watch a lot of TV, that's the thing, right? So this is me just giving my opinion now. That, I think, yeah, Terminator after 2 years. Okay? So you got to think about it that way. Do you know any kids that grew up with parents that were just like, oh, if they ask a question, I just tell them the truth about anything? Have you met any kids that are growing up like that? In my experience, this is anecdotal, they turn out really well. They turn out really, really well. That's all I got to say about that. So just, after 2 years, and then if you do watch a lot of TV, what can you watch that you enjoy that you can watch with your kids and talk about it while you watch it? There's a real gentle, forgiving, non-hardcore solution to this issue here. Alright, I'm only 3 minutes behind now, which is good. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Whole Brain Child Workbook, practical exercises, worksheets, and activities to nurture developing minds. So if you are hardcore, I recommend this book, looking at this book by Daniel J. Siegel, MD, and Tina Payne Bryson, PhD, from 2015. The Whole Brain Child Workbook. But here we go. Again, all parents face situations they simply have to survive. It's extremely difficult to raise children, and sometimes the best we can do is just get through the moment. But these experiences will be so much more valuable if, instead of merely trying to get through the moment, we also seize the opportunity to teach our children about love, respect, empathy, forgiveness, and the other lessons we want to impart to them. And that's by being, this is me adding this, but about being loving, respectful, empathetic, forgiving around them, and having a bond with them as well, maintaining that bond through play. You'll remember the importance we put on the concept of integration, because there are many different parts to a person's brain. And because each part has different jobs, we need all the parts to work as an integrated whole in order for us to function at our best. As parents, we want to help our children become better integrated so they can use their entire brain in a coordinated way. When all the areas of your child's brain are working together, she experiences a sense of integration and thriving, not surviving. For example, you may notice that during those times of integration, she can much better handle any setbacks and disappointments, can be more calmly managed since she has the patience and insight to be able to work through her frustrations. What a world we would live in if all the kids had this integration going on. In those moments, she's neither rigid nor chaotic. She's in the river of well-being. Moving right along to the book by Maureen from 2013, Spinning Inward, using guided imagery with children for learning, creativity, and relaxation. This part of a chapter is called Learning with the Five Senses. When you imagine a scene, do you see, hear, feel, taste, or smell the image? If I ask you to remember a time when you first tasted apple pie, do you see yourself as a child sitting in your grandmother or mother's kitchen? Do you hear the sound of family members around you? Perhaps you experience the texture of the warm apples in your mouth, or salivate as you smell and taste the tartness of the apples and the delicate crust. You may observe that you experience a combination of several of these sensations. Most of us do. We don't just experience one sensation. We are much more interesting. Just as we sense in multiple ways, we also learn in multiple ways. Some of us respond primarily auditorily to sounds and the spoken word. Some need to see a visual, diagram, or picture to understand an idea. And yet others know things with their bodies. They learn kinesthetically, with a felt or muscular sensation. The idea moves for them. We may think of ourselves as being verbally, auditorily oriented, visually oriented, or kinesthetically oriented, but we are probably using all of these systems simultaneously. In some instances, however, we are aware of one system more than another. I know that when I listen to a lecture, I have to convert the words I hear into a visual outline or diagram to understand fully what I have heard. A close friend of mine stands at the back of the lecture hall so that she can move while the lecturer speaks. She understands more fully when she moves her body. A former third grade student of mine named Tony could never sit still while I demonstrated a lesson on the chalkboard. He had to poke the child sitting next to him or rock back and forth in his chair, distracting both me and the rest of the class. After changing his seat to various locations in the classroom, without success, I tried a new tactic. I asked Tony if he would sponge off the art clay table while I presented a phonics lesson to the class. I had a sense that he needed to move in order to listen fully. While he sponged in a circular motion, I noticed that he was paying very close attention to what I was saying. After the lesson, I quizzed the class about the rules I had presented for vowel blends, and Tony got a perfect score of 10. He had never received a score higher than 3 before. To me, it was obvious that he learned as he moved. For some reason, it was easier for him to hear what I was saying and to understand the lesson I wrote on the chalkboard if he was moving his body. Working with imagery exercises, I began to notice children's learning styles. Matt said that he saw 4 fields filled with blue and yellow flowers, which formed 2 squares. This was interesting to me because Matt was having difficulty following oral instructions, but had no difficulty if the directions were written on the board. He loved map making and art. Perhaps he needed visual cues to understand a concept, and that was why he had so much difficulty with verbal oral tasks like taking dictation or entering into group discussions. Liza said she had felt the bark of a tree and then felt like she was running up a hill when she communicated an idea to me or the class. She expressed it with her whole body, arms waving, head tilting, and feet dancing. She actually moved through an idea. Some children primarily image visually. Others hear images. I remember asking my daughter Heather where she got the ideas for the elaborate dialogue in one of her stories. "Oh, I just hear the people talking." and I write it down. Many children are aware that their senses of smell and taste elicit memories. What's your first memory associated with hot apple pie? I'm just going to add in the Steiner explanation of young children, that all their senses are essentially an eye, as in an eyeball. Okay? So you just consider that all the senses are taking in information. Learning with the kinesthetic sense. Probably the most predominant of the image senses for children is the kinesthetic or body sense. Your child can imagine running, swimming, or doing gymnastics and naturally making use of this ability to improve athletic skills. So they're talking about children here, so that's probably going to be over 5 years old and under 21. All right. A parent recently asked me what a kinesthetic image was and how her daughter, Jessica, had learned to ride her bicycle so quickly. I explained to her that the kinesthetic image is our imagined muscular sense of our body and that we can use this image of our body to learn. She told me that Jessica had tried out her new bicycle, had fallen, and had told her parents she needed to teach her kinesthetic body to ride the bike perfectly. She then sat down in the alley, closed her eyes, and imagined herself riding her bicycle perfectly. It was amazing, her mother said. I actually saw her body come into alignment. She got up on the bike and began to ride it. She was a bit wobbly at first, but she never fell. She was so happy with herself. The kinesthetic sense can be used to improve academic skills as well. I once asked my 3rd grade class how they memorized their multiplication tables. They looked at me quizzically. I then asked them if they used rhythms. Again, blank stares. I then sang as I tapped my thigh 7 times. 7 is 49. I gaffed that. I don't know what they're trying to say there, but yeah. Tap my thigh. 7 times 7 is 49. There we go. Immediately, 70% of the class started clapping, tapping, and snapping various multiplication facts. Many demonstrated their syllabification of words by chanting and thigh slapping and told me that this is the way they beat out their spelling words. How many children are told to stop tapping their pencils during a test or sit still and pay attention, even though their natural way of learning may be to move? The movement and inner rhythm of my own son drove me to distraction when he was in the 4th grade. Upstairs in his room, Brendan studied vocabulary words while drumming on his books, tapping his feet on the rungs of his chair, rocking back and forth and punctuating each beat with hoots and hollers. He sounded like a one-boy percussion band, and it felt like 5.6 on the Richter scale. He consistently got perfect scores in spelling tests and told me that drumming was his method of memorizing. This method is admittedly hard on the nerves of other family members, but is one shared by many children. Children are not the only ones who move when learning. Adults pace through the solution to problems or have insights into complex business strategies during early morning jogs. A highly gifted high school teacher recently told me that she does her lesson plans for an entire week while playing golf on a Sunday morning. A video filmmaker says that he sees with his whole body. He knows a scene is right when he feels it with his body. How can we reinforce these different ways of knowing so that we can encourage our children's natural learning abilities rather than discourage or stifle them? One way is to begin to notice how your child learns. Ask him or her and listen to the answer with all of your senses. And that's really talking about schematic play, schemas, ways that your child likes to play, interests that your child has, motions that your child enjoys and likes. And all of these things, like the whole point of this last section doesn't say anything about the TV, right? Well, that's the whole point. Get rid of the TV and you start talking about child development and how children learn. Look at the world that opens up. It's everything. And then there's books and books and books on this stuff. It's massive. Once you remove, you remove the TV. So how can we reinforce rather than how can we not discourage or stifle the natural learning abilities of children? Well, the TV is definitely doing that, and I think that we covered that in this first installment of the series on the television. Hospitals say that it's good for the heart, really. There's an empathetic aspect. It's like a necessary evil. The Steiner Association says it's literally bad for the heart. It literally causes heart problems, among other things. A whole brain child is a concept of integration. Integrating the child's whole brain. Does the TV do that? No. That wasn't fully covered here. Can we integrate the TV into life in a positive way? Well, we've come across a couple of little things we can do here. No TV before 2. After 2, watching with your child. Figure out some things that you like, that your child would like, and that's okay. We need things good for the heart and the mind in an integrated sense. And that's that. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the next one, the next installment of the TV series. Love you. Bye.